Good evening. Welcome to HBCU Delaware Talks, and thank you again for allowing us, we, and you all to be in your house again this week. We have an exciting show this evening. We have HBCU Initiative, and I'm Steve Washington from HBCU Delaware Coalition. Sir?
Earl Cooper from the Mayor's Office, also a Morehouse College graduate.
My name is Ashley Christopher, also an employee on the administration of Mayor Przicki and a graduate of Howard University.
We're here tonight to just discuss some of the HBCU business, as usual, and just to talk about some of the things and exciting happenings that occur here in Wilmington, Delaware this week and this month. I thank God for historical black colleges and universities simply because if I had not attended the Norfolk State University, I would not be working here in the Wilmington, Delaware area in a school district, and it's just a good experience that I've had at an HBCU.
Yeah.
So thank you for allowing me to be on the show. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, again, we want to, if we can, want to also introduce our audience just to show how diverse HBCUs are within this Wilmington and greater Newcastle area. So we'll start with.
My name is Leah Williams. I am a recent graduate from Delaware State University, where I got my undergraduate degree, class 2015, and my MBA, class 2016.
Hi, my name is Ayana Lewis, and I'm a graduate of Spelman College, now working for the School District of Philadelphia.
Hi, my name is Deanna Munn. I am also a graduate of Spelman College, and I'm now working for Delta Airlines and Financial Planning and Analysis.
My name is Lavonda Larks. I went to Clark Atlanta University, and I work for myself as an in-home therapist.
Hi, my name is Colleen Stribling. I also work with the City of Wilmington in the City Treasurer's Office, and I attended Norfolk State University.
Good evening, Tracy Truitt, a graduate of Norfolk State University, and I'm employed by Delmarva Power and Light Company.
Awesome. I don't recall introducing myself as far as where I work. Again, Steve Washington, graduate of Norfolk State University and Arcadia University, and I work for the Brandywine School Teacher as Brandywine School District as a special ed teacher.
So one of the things I think that's so special, as we can already see, is how diverse everyone is. You know, the different colleges that they went to, the different professions that they have. And I think, again, just very lightly shining light on that you can do so many different things going to a historically black college and university. But before we get too deep, I want to kind of give it to Ashley to kind of talk a little bit about the city's initiative and how this all kind of came about and what's going to happen this week a little bit, what has happened.
Okay, so the month of September has been designated as HBCU month in the city of Wilmington. We kicked off that initiative with a proclamation signing and a community day at Helen Chambers Park this past Sunday with Mayor Przicki and the president of Delaware State University, Dr. Williams. We had a large representation, of HBCU alumni in the city of Wilmington, and it was a great experience. Delaware State was largely represented. They had their cheerleaders, their band, the band dancers, the sorority Delta Sigma Theta came and did an exhibition, and then we had the campus from University of Delaware. So it was a great experience. We brought an authentic HBCU vibe to the inner city of Wilmington, Delaware.
Hang on, not just the inner city. You got to get a block. You got to tell them exactly where this happened.
I said Helen Chambers Park.
All right, that's
okay.
5th and Madison.
Exactly.
It was the perfect location.
You got to let people know.
Okay, so now that you've illustrated where we were on Sunday.
A lot of people don't know where Helen, I didn't know where Helen Chambers, or that park, exactly the name of it, that's all.
All right, fair enough. So we were in the West Center City area of Wilmington, Delaware on Sunday. The reason why we decided to push this initiative is because Mayor Przicki's administration is extremely diverse in that a large number of people who work for him are HBCU alumni, starting with his chief of staff, who is a graduate of Norfolk State University, Mrs. Tanya Washington, essentially the most powerful woman in the city of Wilmington. In conjunction with that, myself, I'm special assistant to the mayor, graduate of Howard University. Mr. Cooper, who is the community referral specialist of the city of Wilmington. A member of our communications team is a graduate of Hampton, and we have various different department heads who have graduated from HBCU. So we decided it was important to illustrate and show the city of Wilmington that you can graduate from an HBCU, get a quality education, and do some really good things. So I think the highlight of our HBCU week is the sum or the culmination of events, which is taking place tomorrow. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, well, I'll let you go to that. I want to touch a little bit about Nativity Prep, and then I'll let you take on that college fair, because that's a big piece, the college fair.
Okay.
So Nativity Prep was a beautification project that we did. The mayor's wife, Mrs. Brzezicki, went out there and planted flowers, put benches out there. It was beautiful. We also had the Philadelphia Union come out and give their soccer field a facelift. Basically, we put up new nets. They donate over a dozen soccer balls. And ironically, one of the things I learned that the nets that they previously had, they were borrowing. They used to have to take them down. One day I went by there, they had like stacks of paper, boxes of paper holding the nets together. So they weren't even new nets, and they were essentially renting them. We did the same thing with the basketball court. We put a facelift on the basketball court, put new lines out there. The 87ers came out there and donated basketball. So it was great. We also had his brother, Joe Brzezicki, who, and I won't get into his story very deeply, but he was the first white head coach at an HBCU, and that was Delaware State. And that I commend Delaware State for that, because that shows the progression. And that's one of the things that we also talked about, how HBCUs are becoming more and more diverse, and it's not just solely for black people. We understand the foundation of them. They're becoming more and more diverse, but the kids loved it. They just, were overwhelmed with excitement. I want to thank Channel 6 for coming out and capturing that. The mayor. We also had leaders in the community such as Norman Oliver, Billy Allen, and thus forth. So, but getting back to tomorrow, which is our biggest day, which I'm super excited. I'm gonna hand it back to Ashley to kind of talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so tomorrow we are expecting to host about 600 kids in the city of Wilmington at the Doubletree Hotel for our HBCU College Fair. We have representation from 12 different HBCUs and, schools from Newcastle County, all up and down Newcastle County, that are going to be represented largely. 9 of the schools that are attending are going to be participating in on-the-spot acceptance, whereas if the students come equipped with their transcript and SAT scores and they meet the minimum requirements of these schools, they could be accepted to these institutions on the spot. So that's the very unique part of the college fair. It's not the typical college fair where you just go, you get some information, you get online, you apply, maybe go to a tour, but you could actually walk away with 1 or more acceptances from these institutions, and I think that's big for the city of Wilmington.
That's
agree.
amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's been overwhelming. Like we said, close to 600 kids. I mean, these kids want to come, and so getting in close proximity with them and having an opportunity to kind of tell our story, I think that's the key. And so it's been amazing. But I'd like to almost kind of transition a little bit and get you guys a little more involved. And I think one of the first questions I'm gonna ask, I'm gonna throw a little question out there. If you had, and start thinking about it, if you had to describe your college experience about an HBCU, how would you do that? Or maybe is it one word, or is it a moment? Whoever wants to jump at it, feel free.
I would explain in one word, I would say foundation. Because my HBCU definitely gave me the knowledge and the skills needed to be successful. I know when we were doing introductions, I didn't get to say what I currently do.
Please.
And so I currently work for Northrop Grumman. It's one of the top defense technology companies in the world. And then also I'm very heavily involved in the HBCU All-Star Initiative. I was selected as the HBCU All-Star when I graduated, but now we have an alumni association. So the purpose of that is to promote HBCUs and show how graduates like all of us can be successful in the workforce.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Beautiful. Northrop Grumman, very familiar.
Yeah, so for me, it was really about an experience where I was going to be around people who look like me, and where I had professors that were like family, where expectations were high across the board, and where you really built your self-confidence and understand that in any room that you go in, you belong there. Yeah. You're not, an exception that needs to prove yourself. Wherever you go, you come with value add. So that was an experience that I knew that I wanted coming out of a high school where I was often one of the only couple students in honors or college prep classes. Right. And so wanting to be a part of that family where your classmates are your sisters at Spelman, and where, like I said, your professors are family that has high expectations for you and really help you build that self-confidence.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I would say for me, it was my freedom. Like, for real, I feel like I was in a box, and I didn't realize I was in a box until I got to Spelman. I found who I was, and I found out where I came from. You know, are you hearing me?
You good? You good?
I found out where I came from and who I really was, and I think without that, like, can't say I wouldn't be anything, but I am 10 times better because of my experience at Spelman and me really understanding my roots and where I came from. You know, our classes, our teachings of African American history is very limited. Mm-hmm. But at Spelman, you learn about the African diaspora. You learn about everything, your roots. So I just think I got out the box. And so.
Beautiful.
Well, those were great answers. So for me, actually, I would say, I'll sum it up in one word and say family. I feel like going to a HBCU, and not even just Clark Atlanta University, but being a part of the AUC was really pivotal in my life, because you don't just earn the people that you're attending school with, you earn the family that are also around, the people at Morehouse and Spelman. Mm-hmm. And then you can also talk to people about your AUC experience, which, again, for me is family, even till this day.
I would say pride. There's a sense of pride when you have gone to an HBCU, and the alumni network that you form, no matter what college you've been to, Norfolk State, Howard, Spelman, that network is tight, and you exude a sense of pride from that.
I have to echo all of that. I say that along with family and knowing that you're just as good as anyone else. You're qualified. You have a sense of, again, family no matter where you attend school, knowing the history and the origin and why they were all formed, and being a part of that, family members who kind of transition generation to generation, and just knowing there's nothing that you can't do. And just be able to pass it on to the young folks and know, don't limit yourself. And I'm with you to get outside the box and freedom. Definitely. It's an experience you'll never forget.
I would say love. I've never been around so many people that look like me that show love and appreciation in spite of. And when people show you love in spite of what you look like, in spite of how you smell, in spite of how you talk, I say that's love. And then looking out for each other, like going to the library. If you don't understand something, there's always people around to help you to understand. You have your professors that they're like mothers and dads at college. So, you know, I really would say love. And because of that love, it spreads throughout the college experience. And then when you become alumni, there is still love. And then you may go your separate ways. But once you go back to that homecoming, it starts all over again. So, you know, and that's the important thing. And, you know, when I say HBCU, I don't look at HBCU as just being a colleges. I look at it as a movement, because the Historically Black College Foundation is a movement for people that look like us, because we had to struggle to even go to school or even be allowed to go to school. So it's a lot of history in these HBCUs, and we have to keep it going. We can't stop, you know, after the week. We have to continue to move and stretch and grow our community, because I guarantee you that we as HBCU alum, we begin to work together and not work in silos. We can grow our community, we can grow our state, we can grow our country, and we can keep kids out of trouble, off the streets, killing each other, because that's high in Wilmington, Delaware. So I thank all of you first and foremost for coming. I just had a question too, quick question regarding the, you did say that there's a college fair, but you didn't say about the fundraiser, because it takes money really to operate in these alumni associations. And is the fundraiser happy hour tomorrow? Everybody, please come out. Have a good time. And it's a happy hour fundraiser. And what we're trying to do is really generate $50,000 and give away $10,000 scholarships, because we really have to grow our community, our state, our country, and it starts right here in the HBCU family. I'm telling you right now, I believe that if we HBCU alum become as one, we could change the culture. We could change this world, and it has to happen. And it starts right now, so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, again, it's, when you hear everyone, there's always this common theme, and as you said, it pride. I think, you know, as I said, I went to Morehouse, and I remember when I was telling people I was interested. I hadn't even got accepted. I was just like, oh, I'm looking at the school called Morehouse. People like, you want to be a Morehouse man? And I didn't even know what that meant. But again, like you said, it's just that sense of pride, that sense of family, that sense of foundation. And those are all the things that I think. And I think, too, a lot of times, I tell people all the time, HBCUs gives you an opportunity to kind of rename yourself in a sense where, you know, it's like for me, you take on a new, I don't know the proper word, but you just take on something new, a new level of confidence about yourself. As you said, when you walk in a room now, you know who you are.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for me, it was like, it wasn't just Earl, it wasn't a Cooper boy in the room. It was like, no, that's a Morehouse man, and it's, you know, and so, but now you also feel that as a sense of responsibility.
Right.
And I think that's the other beautiful thing about it. You know everywhere you go, you are repping Delaware State,
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
it's very important that you do the best job possible because you feel like,
Absolutely.
I want another Delaware State alum to come through my job and have the same opportunities. I'm sure you probably feel the same way about Howard, where it's like, hey, I'm repping Howard everywhere I go. You want to feel that. And again, I think that goes back to what you were saying, that network, that it is a network. And that when we come into these positions, we're not only doing it for ourselves, but we know that there's somebody behind us, and we know that there was someone in front of us. And that goes, again, talking about the history. The history that we're taught at these HBCUs. I know at Morehouse, they say it all the time, you're standing on the shoulders of giants. You know, you know, or Mother Morehouse has placed a crown over your head. It's up to you to grow tall enough to wear it. And so these are the things, again, that you get at an HBCU experience, which is very special and unique. You wanna go to commercial?
Yeah, at this point in time, we're going to take a 2 or 3 minute break, so don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the show, and thank you. If you just tuned in, we have another guest coming on, and this is a good show. Great opportunity for you to get some good old HBCU information. Take it away, sir.
Welcome back. We have a special guest, and I think this is just talks about this whole week and how supportive everyone has been. As we've had other guests talk earlier, but we had a guest, and I'm going to do some Provost Tony.
Hello,
Dr.
Earl. How
Tony
you doing,
Allen,
my
how
brother?
are you?
Good.
to
I'm
see
doing
you.
well. Doing well.
Thank you for joining the show. Just very quickly, can you give us a little bit perspective of how your time's been at Delaware State at HBCU?
I'm I think 32 days on the job, but I'm doing fine. It's really a dream come true for me. I wanted to get into higher education for a long time. I wanted to do that at a historically black college and university for lots of great reasons. And I wanted to do it under a leader who had great vision for an institution like Delaware State, and I think Harry Williams has that vision. And as I've experienced it, and even though I grew up in Delaware, it is still really the hidden gem. And one of my goals is to take the hidden off that as we move forward. When you think about Delaware State's offerings, its growth to about 5,000 students right now, the fact that we have 21 academic departments, 2 farms, a hangar and fleet of 10 planes.
Yeah, aviation.
And matter of fact, in the aviation program, everybody who goes through the aviation program, 100% job placement.
Wow. Beautiful.
So when you just think about all the things that make up a great land-grant institution, then a great HBCU, and some of the things we've done here recently that Lee has been a part of, particularly our role with the Dreamers, which is getting some national attention. And really, as Dr. Williams would say, puts forth the whole notion that we were locked out at one point and created institutions that gave us an opportunity, and our brothers and sisters, largely Latino dreamers who basically grew up in this country, are as much citizens as any of us, are now being locked out, particularly in the southern states, for us to create an opportunity for them to be here and to see our brothers and sisters, black and brown brothers and sisters, really together and hand to hand on this issue. That says a lot about where historically black colleges are, their legacy, and probably more importantly, where they're going and the potential that we have to really change the world and really put accessible, quality education for all to the forefront in higher ed for the future.
Beautiful, beautiful. As you said, I think you hit on so many points, but one of the ones that did stand out to me is that HBCUs are evolving. As you said, they're becoming more and more diverse, but they are also moving together as a group. And I think that that's so important that you highlight what you guys are doing with the Dreamers, to understand that, you know, we were once kept out, and understand the history of HBCUs. And now, you know, coming together as a family, that's one of the things that we mentioned earlier, where we're all welcome. And then once you represent your college, we're all family. And I commend Delaware State for that. I think that's just fabulous. And the other point that you also mentioned was the fact that 100% job placement out of one of your programs, the aviation program. And I think, you know, we were go to visit these these high schools. We visited, how many high schools would you say?
Probably a dozen.
Yeah, at least a dozen. And I think that's one of the things that we were trying to impress upon them, and our audience did that earlier, and telling their profession that it's very diverse, and that, you know, a lot of these Fortune 500 companies and a lot of these, you know, Northrop Grumman, I mean, they're a huge company, they come to these schools to recruit. And I don't think, as you said, you know, that's where we got to take that hidden off of, you know, because these companies know that these schools exist, and we just don't often tell that story. So,
and I think there are 2 important things to think about when you talk about HBCUs and their legacy. First, my first job was at Lincoln University at the Upward Bound program, and actually went to a PWI, University of Delaware. But when I worked at Lincoln, I was like, these brothers and sisters are really proud. They're not only really smart, they're uber confident. And I have always said that HBCU is not only providing a great quality education, they're instilling this certain ethic of pride around who we are and what we can do. I think it's still a fact that most folks who get their graduate degrees in the African American community come from HBCUs, and that says a lot about who we are. With respect to the organizations that are looking for us, the good news about us is, all of us, is it's a long history now. So it's not just that we're lots of first-generation college students, although at Delaware State it's still about 60%. But now it's alum are sending their kids there, and alum are in these opportunities, in these organizations, and are making the case as to why there is quality at these institutions. So we have relationships with Barclays, Norfolk Grumman, and lots of others that are really building capacity for us. But I actually think we're educating them, really building their diverse workforce in a way that crosses a variety of disciplines. So we're pretty excited about that.
No, I think that's wonderful, and I kind of want to throw it to our audience to kind of just give us your perspective on how we every day kind of combat that stereotype that, you know, HBCUs graduates don't have the opportunities, or HBCU is a second-rate education, and we go into our workforce and we excel, and we raise the bar. So please, we'll start down on the end. You want to kind of touch on your experience? Or?
Sure. One, I just want to say, just as we were talking about the network, I mean, I've continued on to get my education, get my MBA, and just reached out to Spelman alums that went to Emory, and they immediately took me on, mentored me, got me prepared, got me through my interview, you know? And it's just like that network never dies. And now today, as I'm reviewing resumes, when I see a HBCU, I already know. I know the education you got. I know what you're being instilled with. So, you know, that network is just so powerful. But I was listening to this podcast, and a father was telling his daughter not to go to Howard because he was saying, you know, you get a false idea of what the real world is like. Like, you're surrounded by everyone who looks like you. But when you get in corporate America, they don't look like you. So you need to go to a predominantly white school so that you can be prepared. But no, when you go to a HBCU, you find out who you are, so that when I am isolated, I know who I am. So you can't tell me that I'm not about to dominate in what I'm doing. And you know, so I felt like I had to go to a HBCU to really understand who I am and my worth. I didn't really know that until I went there. So I think that that's one of the things, key things that are missing that people don't understand. On top of, obviously, the education. If you really think about in the professions, doctors, lawyers, how many of black professionals came from HBCUs? Our percentages are high in those high-end jobs, you know? And so I just wish people would focus more on, you know, those statistics.
Yeah, and just to bounce off of what you said really quickly, the foundation and the confidence that I got attending Howard University was unprecedented. You know what I mean? Just like you said earlier, with the history that's being taught in schools prior to your college education, Afro-American history is limited or non-existent. Exactly. And going into Howard University and minoring in Afro-American studies, you know, I was in awe. Like, there were times where I would be like, wow, it's such a privilege to be a black woman. After all this time, after all these things, we're still here. We are still here after all this, you know what I mean? So it's just such a blessing to be able to go into these environments to learn your true history. Like you said, to learn yourself. And then to transition, because to be quite frank, you know, whatever profession it is that we choose to go on to is probably going to be dominated by white men or white people. Like, I decided to go on to another HBCU to get a law degree. So, but even my law school, University of DC, it was still like I was in the minority. So I had to learn and transition and say, you know, this is an HBCU, but the foundation I received at Howard, you know, is something that will never compare to anything, and I would never trade it for anything. The best decision I could have ever made, for sure.
And just to go back to the question about stereotypes, a lot of times you'll hear, well, why would you want to go somewhere where there's no diversity? And my answer to that is, well, who told you that black people weren't diverse? I mean, we are such a diverse people. We come from all over. We speak different languages. We have different points of views. So we learn so much from each other. And so that's a very misinformed perspective. And I think that that's something that I often talk to people about. I learned so much from my Spelman sisters. And then being in the AUC, you're just surrounded by people that you learn so much from that are from all over the world. And also, I think it's important to understand that HBCUs also have an environment for students that aren't as prepared for college, they might go to a TWI and get lost. And at an HBCU, somebody has their eye on you. Somebody cares about your success genuinely. And that is something that is so unique and special about the HBCU experience that you might not hear from your guidance counselor. And so I think those things are often missing from that discussion around why HBCUs are so unique and special.
I think you're absolutely right on two fronts. And the first one is, and I say this publicly a lot now, name me another kind of university like an HBCU that can give a quality education to a student who might be traditionally underrepresented or underprepared, and a student who could succeed anywhere.
Right.
Name me a university that can really provide accessible, quality education for all.
Right.
And I've heard the retort around, you going to a place where there are a lot of African Americans or people from the African diaspora. I would just argue, take a look at many of the big institutions that are predominantly white. It's not like it's 40% black. So you're finding yourself with that pride and the quality education. And I, as a person who worked at Bank of America for 13 years and made a lot of employment decisions, I can tell you, if there are two people of equal talent, the one that's confident is going to get the job. And I've seen many more HBCU alum that are uber confident and are of equal talents.
I agree. Was there anything in the back?
I was going to pretty much say the same thing, a sense of pride. Just knowing that you have someone who always has your back, the networking, no matter where you move, whether you're here in Delaware, you're DC, California. You can always look up the graduate chapters and alumni chapters and kind of get your family base and also help you along the way as you're settling to your new area. So it's just you're prepared, you're ready to go. No matter where you go, there's going to be someone who looks like you, who's experienced the same things that you have, and they're going to just make sure that you get what you need.
I can just very quickly, a quick story. I remember I had moved from Florida to Detroit. I was working at Detroit Golf Club, first African American golf pro there, and straight out of college, a couple years out of college, but obviously I didn't have a lot of money. And I was coming to work doing my thing, and I met one of the members there was a Morehouse man named Charles Allen, and we got close. And I'd probably been there about 3 weeks. Then I get a call on the Saturday, and he's like, "Earl, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm at my house headed to work." He's like, "All right, I'm at your door." And I'll never forget, he gave me like $500 worth of golf clothes. And he was like, "I heard that they were talking about you because my attire wasn't where it is today. And I didn't have the funds." But the one thing that really touched me was the fact that he didn't just come to me and say, "Oh, I heard that they were saying something about you. You need to dress a little bit better." It was, "No, brother, I got you. Here's, because I know you don't have it. You're just getting, your feet wet. Here's some clothes. Here's a gift receipt. If they don't work, you never have to eat alone by yourself. You can always come." And I was in Detroit and I didn't know anybody. So again, that kind of talks about, personally, I know what it's like to go to a city where you're like, "What? Detroit?" First of all, people thought I was crazy. Detroit for golf? What are you doing? You know what I mean? That's backwards. But one of the best decisions I made, and for sure, that just talks about how real this network is and how that family atmosphere, and it doesn't just end after you graduate. It continues to grow, and it's a deep, deep family atmosphere.
I learned at HBCU at Norfolk State that I had to persevere. A lot of times I was there and I didn't have any money. I'm like, how am I going to make it? I'm hungry, But then you find a way, and then once you find that way, it connects a dot with someone else, and then it's going through the same thing. And then you start to build, you start to grow. And I think that's just an awesome, awesome experience. And now I'm confident anywhere I go. And you can tell me no as many times as you want. I'm still going to keep on persevering just because of that experience at Norfolk State, So.
For sure. And again, I just want to remind everyone, tomorrow at the DoubleTree, we have a college fair. Please come out between 10 and 2. We're anticipating close to 600 kids. This has just been overwhelming. I want to thank Delaware State because the moment we made the call, you guys answered. I mean, you said, "We are 100% on board. We're going to do this first class." And that's another thing, too. I think, doing it with excellence. And that's what this whole experience, this whole week has been, with excellence. And as you can see, we moved it to the DoubleTree with excellence. And I want to commend the superintendents. I want to commend the counselors that allowed us to come in on such short notice. And as you know, academics, you guys know, it's very hard to get in front of kids nowadays. They need every minute. And they were just, Ashley can attest, they were so willing to just say, no, y'all got it. Take y'all time. We've never seen our kids so engaged before. Like, they were sitting on the edge of their seats and asking so many questions. So, again, this has just been a beautiful effort of everyone genuinely coming together. And we're seeing that every day with the city of Wilmington announcing a partnership with Delaware State and UD.
Yeah, let me just say, I think one of the most critical conversations that a high school student has when he or she is thinking about his next step is with his college counselor, who can say something to him or her that changes their course trajectory.
You're right.
Well said.
And I'm not suggesting that there aren't great counselors out there,
Right.
but I know that if I didn't have other folks talking to me,
Right.
I'm not sure I'd be sitting here today. So you all, we all sort of building a direct pipeline to those kids is critically important. It's one of the reasons that the University of Delaware, Delaware State, and the City of Wilmington just announced a partnership. Because in normal circumstances, that would have been a City of Wilmington UD thing.
Correct.
Even though about 6 city council members are Delaware State alum.
Sure.
So being able to bring us to the table in a way that's of equal partnership, which we made sure was the case, and really think about the issues of the day, particularly as it relates to talent pipeline, some of the research issues, the trauma-related stuff we plan to do with the city, particularly around some of the violence issues, we think are critically important. So we thank you all, both of you all, for the opportunity, except for the fact that Norfolk State is getting prime attention.
But it's while you went there, here's a little history fact. Let me tell you how it all started. The HBCU Delaware Coalition, it did start from Norfolk State. We didn't have an alumni chapter.
I am just kidding.
No, because people really need to see. It's a platform, and because of, here we are. But I want you to know that Delaware State's in our backyard. We have to support. It's mandatory that we support. Norfolk State didn't have an alumni chapter. We didn't. So I founded an alumni chapter here in Delaware. Then it grew, and I'm like, well, we're not doing enough because we have all these professionals, but they work in silos. So then the birth of the HBCU Delaware Coalition came about because that encompasses all of the HBCUs. And now we're growing, and now this should take off, and we need to really keep it going, so we can support, so we can stand on the campus at Delaware State together in unity. So we can stand on Cheney State University in unity.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Just wanted to mention, some of our brothers and sisters institutions are really struggling right now. And I think it's imperative that while we have our natural school rivalries and that great, that we stand pretty tall. When you see Cheney, the first out the gate, right? In a critical moment, it shouldn't be just Cheney alums standing behind them.
Right.
So it's very important. I commend you for building the coalition, and just suggest that we do more of that as we grow what I think is the best place for accessible education for everybody in the HBCU landscape.
Good stuff.
I just wanted to mention
Go.
something.
I'm sorry.
To piggyback off of what you were saying about guidance counselors, I know for me, if I listened to my guidance counselor, I wouldn't have went to Clark Atlanta University. I didn't even know that HBCUs were an option. So it wasn't until my sister, actually, her mom, told us that we should go on a college tour. It's the other people in your ear, right? It's the other people that are around you, like, hey, did you know about this? It's all about exposure. So me getting exposed and going on a college tour and actually seeing people that look like me and not being intimidated by those people and actually wanting to be a part of that experience is why I went. So I do think it's awesome what you guys are doing. I'm very grateful to be a part of this panel and the entire week. So continue, let us know, keep us posted, because we are definitely engaged.
Absolutely.
Absolutely awesome.
And that's why it's also important, like all of us have different professions, that in our workforce we're also doing things to promote our HBCU. Because when they go on tours just to talk to different companies and things like that, they need to see us. Or even if it's something as simple as, like, when I'm out in the mall, I wear Del State apparel and I'll see another Del State alumni and say, But I mean, you see kids walking around, they're like, what school is that? And so we definitely, as alumni, we have to promote our HBCUs. We have to just showcase that you can be successful and go to HBCU.
And you gotta give back. Leah, you graduated when?
15 and 16.
15 and 16, right? She came back to the induction ceremony, which was a couple of weeks ago, was our keynote speaker, and rocked the house. Wow. Really rocked the house. Yeah.
Yeah, we do have to give back, because I mean, just looking at those alumni older than me, it's so inspiring to see them being successful. And when I was a freshman, seeing those people come back and speak, I mean, it's really inspiring, and it just gives you somewhere to set the bar to and try to reach past that.
Absolutely right.
Good. You were saying something?
Oh no, I'm just
okay.
enjoying in the moment.
We have
Right.
to, 3% of alumni give back to HBCUs, and that's small. You know, I was one time going out asking $1 to support an HBCU. Just give $1. You get 1 million people off of $1. Look what we have. So we really have to support, and we have to get it right.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to take a little bit of time, but we have got to get it right. And I'm really passionate about it, because kids in Wilmington are shooting each other, and they're not reading on grade level. And we have so many professionals from HBCUs that are right here, but we're still doing it in silo. Yeah. So I'm hoping and praying that this comes together and we all begin to work together under one umbrella and get it right. So.
And on the note where we were talking about some of our HBCUs struggling, I think that it is important to recognize that a lot of times, because of funding, our HBCUs often can't provide as much financial assistance. So if you're looking at going to a HBCU, you need to get on your scholarships and figure out how you can fill that gap, because unfortunately there often is one, because of the fact that there's just not as much financial assistance for everyone. So I just tell people that up front, like, if you're looking to go to HBCU, also get on top of those scholarships to see how you can make it work.
I believe, is there someone coming up that's going to talk financial aid tomorrow?
Yes, we have 3 representatives, one from Bowie State University and 2 from Lincoln, that are going to be giving financial aid information on the federal level, like FAFSA information, and also different opportunities at their schools. And all of the administrators from the respective colleges are coming equipped with a lot of information about financial aid and scholarships.
Awesome. Dr. Allen, you said you've been at Dell State for 32 days.
32 days.
Let me ask you, what are some of the challenges? I mean, there's a whole lot of success, but what are some of the challenges that you have seen since you've been at Delaware State?
Well, I was announced in June, so started sort of preliminary work then. And, our number one priority is student success. And there's a correlation between first-year retention, meaning the opportunity, so a student goes through their first year and comes back, and actual 4-year and 6-year graduation rates. And we focus on first-year retention and 4-year graduation in particular. And 5 years ago, we were in high 50s, early 60s on first-year retention. Now, for the last 4 years, we're up 70%. And that means a lot. That means a lot, because, as I said, there's a direct correlation to coming back that second year and actually graduating. So we focus on that. And what I would tell you is, most people think, when I ask the question, why do you think that is, most people go, this must be finances. Finances is the number 2 concern that our students talk about. What they do talk about, most importantly, is sort of academic advising, making sure that they have the right people in the right subject matter area that can really guide them while they're in school, but also sort of in their content area based on what they want to do for a living. So we're making some thoughtful changes in that area to continue to build that first-year retention rate and hopefully the graduation rates as well. The other stuff I'd say is not all that different from any other college campus you might see with respect to what students want. My firm belief is that we are building a campus for the future that is based on student success, quality scholarship, and really taking the Delaware State brand off the campus and into areas like Wilmington and other places in the region and around the world. In fact, on this Saturday, I'm heading to China, because we have a relationship with lots of Chinese students, about 200 Chinese students, where they're getting a Delaware State education over there. And spend some time over here as well for some exchange programs. So that kind of thing really helps grow the campus, and I think is fundamental to who we are around diversity, scholarship, and outreach.
Awesome. Going to China. Good stuff.
To piggyback off what he said, I actually did an exchange.
Use the mic.
Thank you. Just to add with what he said, excuse me. I actually did an exchange program when I was at Dell State, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, going over to China for over a month. I mean, my first time out of the country, and it was right after my freshman year. So can you imagine a freshman going all across the globe like that? And I mean, to this day, I'm tight, crazy tight with those who I went on the trip with. But I mean, I will tell anybody to do a study abroad, but HBCUs give you that opportunity.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Wow.
Sure. I want to, I think I really want to just kind of lighten it up a little bit in this and talk about just your one fun moment. I know homecoming is always such an exciting time.
I know.
I've been with her.
She's been waiting for that. She's been waiting for that.
All these high schools, and she keep claiming that Howard has the largest and the best, and I gotta stand there and hear this. I'm like, oh Lord, here we go again. But yeah, exactly. Now I got a little. Yeah, exactly. I got a little help today, but I will say I did last year experience a Howard homecoming, and it was fantastic. But it wasn't. It had nothing on. Y'all know. Y'all know. So if we can we speak to that a little bit? Just speak to. Well, we'll start with you. Speak to a little bit about your homecoming experience. What excites you the most about that, or just an exciting moment about your school?
Just seeing friends who don't live near. Once a year you're going to get together for that weekend. You may not get any sleep.
Yeah, I know that's right.
But you're gonna have a good time.
Yes.
If you just sit around, and sometimes you just kind of share, like, what are you doing now? Where are you working?
Right.
And that's another way to continue on with your network.
Yeah.
Go back and visit your professors.
Yes.
Sometimes it's good to kind of give back. That's a way a lot of them form internships at different employers by way of connecting through their graduates. So it's
That
just
is
a great
true.
time.
Yeah, no, that's true. Please.
I would say, as us NSU, our marching band, we had a really awesome marching band.
Yes, we do.
And attending the games, football games, the basketball games, our band's coming out there representing. So that was a really memorable moment for me.
Awesome.
I love everything about homecoming. Literally, from the football, we're not that good. Our football team is not that good, but our band is amazing. It's amazing. Our tailgate is amazing.
Yes, that tailgate.
Just coming, and you actually prepare for homecoming all year. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I know we do. As soon as you go to one homecoming, and then you're already ready for the next one. Just seeing your family, seeing your professors, seeing people that you haven't seen maybe in 2-3 years or since you graduated. So it's just a really good time to be around your family.
Yeah. One quick thing, and I know college tours are great, and we love for kids to go on them. But if you can go experience as a high school student, it would have changed you talk about changing the trajectory.
Right. Just the game.
Hold on.
Just the game.
I think it's important
As a high school student, just the game.
that
My baby's sleeping. No homecoming for you.
ask your parents first. But please, I encourage you to go experience a homecoming. So I'm gonna go back to you and let you, but please go experience a homecoming game. She's whispering game in my ear. Go home.
You say homecoming all day. You just like
So excited.
Like Lovey said, I mean, you plan for it. As soon as homecoming's over, you're thinking about the next homecoming.
Yeah.
A beautiful thing about HBCU homecoming is it never gets old.
Right.
You
That's
go every year. I'll be going 20 years from now with
Yeah.
my kids.
Yeah.
With you
Yeah.
can bring your kids. It's
Yeah.
again
It is.
family. It's a family affair.
It is.
And oh my gosh, it's just so much fun. Tailgate is everything, and it's love. You feel the love. You're going from tent to tent, different music.
Right.
You're dancing. You're meeting people. You're seeing people's kids. You're seeing the legacy, the next legacy. And these kids have on future Spelman woman, future Morehouse man, and you're like, yes. So imagine what they're thinking when they're looking at us and seeing us having a good time. And it's also a chance for me to like be a freshman again. You know, like everybody, you just kind of go back to college again, and it's just so much fun. It's just
it's an amazing. It's no experience like it. It's no experience like it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think last year the sheriff had to shut down our tent.
Yes,
It was like it's really lit. It's a great time. I think for those who are on social media, there's like a meme out there that says something like, homecoming at an HBCU isn't an event, it's like a spiritual experience. It's true. It's just, there's nothing like it.
It's like a recharge.
Yeah.
Like, you go and you just get recharged.
Yeah, really. And then to your point about the tour, that's so true. I remember going on Spelman's tour and being like, this is so dry. I don't know if I want to go here.
right.
And I love you, Spelman, but if anybody's watching that could help with the tour, I think it needs to work on.
Right.
But if you go at a time where it's alive and
Yes.
people are actually
Right.
moving around and you
Right.
see what the day-to-day looks like, it's a completely different experience. So I think that is really good advice, because if it wasn't for my mom, who from day one let me know, like, that's the look for you,
Right.
I might not have known that I needed to give it another shot after the tour.
And I'm speaking, I never put to it, but that's how I was convinced to go to Morehouse. I went down there for homecoming.
Right.
It was a Morehouse alum that my aunt had known, and he said, dude, this is the time to come. You want to come?
Yeah.
Now, granted, I was already in college, so I was a little bit older, but he was like, this is the week. And I went down there, I played for the golf coach earlier that week, and then once Wednesday hit, I was just blown away. I was just blown away. And like I said, I went down there the middle of my sophomore year, October, January, I was enrolled, I was in classes. So that's how quickly it can happen. And as you guys know, homecoming. And when you talk about the babies as well, that's what they do. These babies get to come, you know, starting at whatever age, and they're ingrained with this joyful experience. It's like, man, I want to be a part of this. My mom, my aunt, my dad, my cousins, they're enjoying it. And they're all excited about their education. This is where they got their education platform from. So I think one of the things that I recognize is that when we give it to them young, it gives them this window of possibly, you know, a 7 to 10 years where college is just this fun idea. And then later on, it's like, okay, well, I want to achieve this fun, and then we can put the work in front of them. You know, the SATs, the scholarships. But a lot of times for us, we only just see the work. We didn't know that homecoming even exists. We just see 18 years old, now we got to make these decisions, and it's like, well, I'm, like you said, it was so dry. When I went, it was dry. But if you can kind of expose them to the excitement and the opportunities early on, where it's just, hey, just have fun with it. Just because these kids that go to these predominantly white institutions, listen, I was in Detroit. I saw kids that were 3 years old yelling, go green, go blue, and that their mothers and fathers were just, they were like, I'm in heaven. This kid can continue to live in my house. And he said, go green, go blue. And so that's what our kids need to experience as well. They need to be able to say, go Hornets, you know, they go Tigers, you know, go Spartans. That's what they need to be able to say coming up. So,
like you said about the kids, my brother went to University of Delaware, and great college, but he never goes back for homecoming. He just went back, I think it was his 15th year or something, and he was just like, okay, I'm going to go back. For us, it's just like a no-brainer. Like, I'm missing my first I've been graduated for 11 years now. And I'm missing my first homecoming this year because my grandmama's coming to town. But that's the reason that I'm missing it. Like, other than that, we don't miss. We go.
Yeah,
So,
and to add to that, both of my parents are college graduates, but, you know, my mother went to Temple and my dad went to Drexel. Never went to any, you know, homecomings. They always encouraged me, my sister, my brother to go to an HBCU. And I'm telling you, like, since my brother graduated from Delaware State, my father has not missed a homecoming. I'm telling you, like, people think that he is a Del State alumni. To this day, he has Nelia, and he supports that institution like he went there. I mean, he just neglects my sister and I, because we went to Howard. He don't know nothing, but I mean, Delaware State, you would think that that was his alma mater. But, you know, I guess I'm in the minority. I haven't taken my son to Howard homecoming yet, because that's my time to go and, like, have a good time and get with my friends and have my late nights and have a good time. So Ryan has not experienced that yet, and I don't know when he will.
That's why I said 10 years.
Right, but I will. He's 10.
No, I mean 10 years from now.
Right, but I'm missing it. I'm missing it again, like you. This is my first one I'm missing.
Wow.
It's devastating.
Maybe you guys can have like a joint.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. So yeah, I understand the experience. And when I was at Howard, I worked for Howard University Homecoming Steering Committee for 3 years. So I got to see like all the work that goes into that. And yes, it is the largest homecoming, attracting upwards of 350,000 people annually.
Thanks for the statistics.
Also, one thing I have to give, and I've learned from her that, you know, and it's the truth, artists beg to be a part of Howard's platform on homecoming.
Yeah, like when I was vice chair, we had to actually tell, I'm not going to name them, but we had to tell some people, sorry, we can't. We don't have the time. We have booked XYZ, but it's like a competition. It's been like that. I mean, Howard and the hip hop culture, I think it started with Biggie.
Yeah.
It's like every year it's a race, it's a competition, like who's going to be at Howard homecoming this year. Like, so that was actually a fun part to see, because usually it's the reverse. You're begging these people to come, putting these money in their faces, but with Howard, they're actually calling like, hey, I want to be on stage this year. So it was a really, really good experience.
I'm sorry. There's a pre-homecoming event this coming Saturday on September 23rd at Delaware State University as the Hornets take on the Norfolk State Spartans. And we will be tailgating, so if you're not doing anything Saturday, both alumni chapters have collaborated, and we're going to do one big tailgate with the DJ and have a good. You'll be in China, of course, but have a good time down at the.
Behave yourself.
Yes, sir.
So very quickly, I just want to remind everyone again about the initiative. We only got a couple minutes left, so again, I want to thank Mayor Przicki and his staff and everyone as an HBCU coalition to coming together on this partnership, announcing the month of September as HBCU Month. This week has just been an amazing week. We kicked it off Sunday with the proclamation signing and the community day in Helen Chambers right there on 6th and Madison. DSU came out strong. They brought their band, their marchers, the Kappas from Delaware, their Deltas from DSU. I mean, just fabulous event. And we must mention, as you talked about, very diverse. Drumline diverse, cheerleaders diverse. Everyone is just, you know, diverse campus. Had a beautification project at Nativity Prep. Philadelphia Union came down and did a facelift on their soccer field. 86ers did a facelift on their basketball court. We're here today, and tomorrow is the big day. Tomorrow we're super, super excited about the college fair. Please come out between 10 and 2 at the DoubleTree. And then we also have a happy hour, a young black professional happy hour at Ernest and Scott between 5 and 8. 20% of the proceeds will go to our scholarship fund. So please come out and support. We want to hope to see all you there. And very quickly, if we could, I would just want to make a plea and understand that we're not, at least I'm not trying to convince you that you have to go to a HBCU, but don't overlook the option.
That's right.
And I think too often we don't even look at it, especially Delaware State being right in our own backyard.
That's right.
We don't even apply. So again, please, you know, that I'm going to end it with that. If there's closing remarks from Tony.
Well, I first of all, thanks all of you. It just lifts my spirit and makes me know that I'm in the place that God wants me to be.
Absolutely.
What I would say though is, when I think about Wilmington and the plight of many of our students and children, they need us. They need these opportunities. It's not something we maybe should think we should do. We got to do it. We have to do it to move the agenda forward. So I would say continue forward, remain steadfast, and let's own our legacy. This is whether we went to a PWI or HBCU. These are African American born institutions, and we as African American people have to hold on to them with everything we have.
I'd like to thank you all for coming out. I really do. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you for all that you do in the lives of people. Let's continue to drive. Thank you, Wilmington, Delaware. Thank you, Lapa. Have a good evening.